Why I wrote this book because I
Right.
got so annoyed with it. Because, okay, number one, I'm going to give you backstory. When I first started my work in the world as a parent coach, I was coaching during a time when I was teaching parenting classes during a time when there was a program in the United States called Raising Kids God's Way. Anybody ever heard of that? I'm sorry if you have, because it was horrible. It was basically a program where spanking was condoned as an acceptable form of punishment. And okay, so my background is in labor and delivery. I'm a midwife, I'm a lactation consultant, right? There were babies, this was in Texas, which is, can be kind of conservative. There were babies showing up in the ER with failure to thrive. And they were showing up in the ER with failure to thrive because this program said, hey, your child, if they're breastfeeding more than every 4 hours, they're just greedy, and you need to break the cycle of greed because that's a vice, right? And these it took us how many years to get physicians to say, hey, maybe we should breastfeed on demand? Like in the 60s, that was a big idea. You couldn't do that, right? It took decades of nurses saying, hey guys, this is a perfect feedback loop, and babies breastfeed the way they need to, depending on where they are developmentally, their own personal relationship with their body and you, and it's like a perfect system. Let's not mess with it, right? So here we come at 35 years later with this program saying babies who breastfeed too frequently are greedy. We need to let them cry it out. And they were starving and showing up in the emergency room with failure to thrive. That is my trigger as a mama. Okay, that's my trigger. And this is why I get upset with the personal health system, because I have seen this system misused in some pretty horrific ways. For example, I have seen somebody post, somebody posted in one of the Facebook groups, my baby's system is cold digestion. I've been refrigerating the baby bottles for this baby, and they have colic and stomach aches. What am I doing wrong? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't even know what to say to this, right? First of all, let's be clear. The aura is not mature until 7. So everything we talk about in human design for babies and small children, what small children need is connection and consistent adult caregivers whose auras they can rely on. They need safety. They need so much more than just human design. Okay. So when I see something like the PHS misused in that way, I have a huge issue with it. Secondly, it doesn't take into context the psycho-emotional neurobiology around health and wellness. And when we look at the chart as a formula for wellness, and we see it as a direct instruction system, like this person has this in their chart, therefore they should eat in dry kitchens, right? Or whatever, which doesn't mean what it sounds like it means, but we don't need to get into that, right? But it's not, the human body doesn't work like that. There are so many factors that can impact health and wellness, including epigenetic factors, that we cannot get formulaic using astrology for health and wellness until you can show me science that proves that. Now, astrology is a good archetypal system. Astrology is a great system to say, hey, let's look at the story underneath this. That's a part of wellness. It's not the only part of wellness. If I have Lyme disease, if I'm in the acute phase of Lyme disease and I have bullseyes on my body, odds are pretty high that I'm going to go take some doxycycline, and then I'm going to go look at my story, and not in the other way around, right? So, bottom line is, it's not based in science, and it's dangerous if it's misapplied. And so I don't teach it. I also don't teach it because I don't really know where it came from, because it was not in any of the original teachings. And that makes me a little bit nervous.